Hello everyone, my name is Rachel Zeusis. I'm the apprentice grower at Blueberry Gardens and I wanted to give you a tour of the hoop house. So come along with me. It's a beautiful November morning. It was sunny briefly, but now it's gotten cloudy again and it's pretty cool. It's going to be cold tonight, so we're preparing for a cold snap and some freezing most likely. But here is the hoop house, and just so you have a little context, you can probably hear the traffic. We're in suburbia. There's a main road that's right next to us here, but it's a peaceful little spot in the midst of the development. This is the octagon where there's yoga classes and other sorts of healing work happens in the treatment rooms. So that's the Blueberry Gardens Healing Center. And here we are, we're on the top of the hillside. And this is actually where I grew up a long time before it became Blueberry Gardens and all that you see now. So it's a beautiful hilltop, as I said, in the middle of suburbia, but it's been maintained as farmland. It's about 5 acres or so that's being cultivated now. 3 acres in blueberries, a little bit of lavender, you can see there, and across the ways, you can sort of see, is some more lavender on the hillside there. But here we are at the hoop house. This is where most of the fun happens, for me at least. And usually this door would be shut, when I came in this morning. The hoop house gets closed up for the nights now that it's getting colder. But I come in the morning and open it up. And here we have our seating table with a bunch of other debris on it. And our lovely veggies. And our harvesting and bagging area and our scale for when we do orders. So we have some spinach there, a little bit of remaining romaine. There was pak choi, now there's just weeds left in the bed, a little bit of the pak choi in the back there. But pretty soon that bed will be empty and we will most likely plant it in with lettuce. So we have some little babies still on the seating table. And they're getting ready. They could be transplanted at any time, but they do better if they have a little more time to establish some roots before we put them in the ground. So we have time for that, so we're leaving them on the seating table right now. Here's some earlier Salanova. So it's been in for, I think, a month now. Getting big and beautiful. Some black-seeded Simpson lettuce. It's just getting started. And now that the days are really short and it's colder, lettuces and these greens, they like the cooler weather, but also they grow a lot slower now that there's not that many hours of daylight. So we'll see some of these guys that are just getting started, how long it takes them to get to edible harvesting size. One of my favorites, the dinosaur kale, Toscano kale, which, as you can see, is a little patchy here, and that is because, well, some of these just didn't take off at first. I don't know exactly why. All these were planted at the same time. You can see some are getting fairly full size now, whereas these guys are they're coming along, but they're behind. And I'm not sure exactly what, especially this bed, don't know what happened to them. So some of the peculiarities, partly it was that they got attacked by some little creatures that munched on them. You can see how they did some serious munching on them, and so a lot of them got stripped just as they were getting started, and so they've had to recover. They didn't even have a good set of leaves to start. some collard greens, which is a new thing here in the hoop house. This is my first year. I started in April. So I grew up here, but I've been away for a long time. I just moved back. And so this is my first full year going through all the seasons, seeing what's happening. But we've sort of almost come full circle, because when I came in April, it was the end of the winter season. And so a lot of these things that now we have planted in for the coming winter is, it's starting to look sort of as it did when I came last spring. So chard is a mainstay here. We love our chard. It's so big and beautiful and colorful and tasty. It's one of my particular favorites. Some spinach. So these are good winter greens. The spinach, the chard, kale, arugula. There's more of the chard. There's some of the curly kale down there. But then also trying to do some of the lettuces and the collard greens, the mustard greens there, and the red pak choi, which is pretty beautiful. It's a great color. We've been growing green pak choi, but the purple is lovely. A little arugula and a bunch of weeds. So, yes, getting back to looking much as it did when I started, but also some new things. I wanted to try fennel. I love fennel bulb. So we have just a half bed of fennel along with some carrots. And then here's our lovely curly kale. And so then here we are at the other end of the hoop house. So we can look back. We just walk down the center aisle. Now I'm gonna open us up here, and there are the chickens. They have a mobile coop, and at the moment they're hanging out right next to the hoop house because there's now a lamp in their coop to give them some longer daylight, because they stop laying so much when they don't have enough daylight. So it gives them some artificial hours. So they had to be moved up closer to an electric source. Here's one of our beautiful blueberry patches. They're just losing all their leaves. Even 2 days ago, they were all covered in these beautiful red leaves, but it's been windy, and they've all blown off. So, just to give you an idea, there's the hoop house. So I've come out of the hoop house. I'm walking down the hillside. There's the road again. Coming down the hillside. A little shaky cam action. And here's our beautiful lower garden, which has been an expansion this fall. It's the first time that we planted veggies outside. And that has happened largely because I'm here. Usually Robert's been doing this for I think about 5 years now. He set up the hoop house, and he's been doing it as his part-time job in the off hours after his full-time job. So having me here to do a bunch more work has allowed us to do more. So as you can see, the wind does a number on everything. Last night, this was all covered in fabric. And after the wind, it has blown all over the place. We even we've been developing our system here. We now have sandbags to hold it down. We did have smaller hoops and clips, which would blow up all the time. They were useless. The sandbags are a little bit better, but not necessarily all that we need. So we're working on that, especially nights like we have coming when it's going to be in the 20s, so we want to make sure that they stay covered. It helps to insulate them. So this is what we got at the moment. We're waiting on a big roll of plastic. We're getting some heavy plastic that will run the whole length of the lower garden, cover it up. It'll keep it, you can potentially keep it covered and growing even when it's snowing. with the plastic and with the layer of the fabric. The fabric which will stay in place if there's plastic on it. So we're eagerly awaiting the arrival of the plastic, and in preparation for that, we put up these larger hoops that can hold the weight of the plastic and any snow that may end up on it. So they say it might be a kicker of a winter, so we'll see if this gets tested. There's some parsnips, some carrots, which the deer have pretty much taken care of, unfortunately. They're getting ready to harvest, so that's kind of okay, but that's beside the cold. There we are. Look at you, lovely. Beautiful carrots. So yeah, we can go ahead and harvest these, especially since their greens are getting all munched. But so yes, the purpose of the fabric initially and foremost is to keep the deer away at night. So at one point they were getting into the hoop house, and we fought the battle of getting them out of the hoop house because they'd come through, and it was like a deer buffet. That is not what we were wanting to do here. So here's some Salanova, kind of in the middle. See how it's doing okay. There's been a couple of frosts, and it has survived, and so we hope that it will continue until it's time to harvest. So there you go. Quick tour of the hoop house in Blueberry Gardens in late November, and we'll do it again in the spring, and we'll see how everything is looking. So thanks for coming along.